Okay, let's talk about audience measurement. So what we're going to talk about here is issues with measuring online audiences. The three major players here, Comscore, Nielsen, Experian, Google Trends, if you're not familiar with it, and some of the free online audience measurement tools such as Compete, Alexa, and Quantcast. So again, online advertising, I think we could all agree, is big. I showed you this chart before in another chapter. Again, keep in mind by 2019, Forrester is expecting digital to represent 35% of the overall advertising budget. And within 2016, before 2017, we are going to see interactive digital marketing exceed television advertising for the first time. So that is going to be a major game changer. Measuring online audiences. So, as marketers and advertisers, we need to know how to measure our potential audiences, correct? We measure online audiences with panel data such as Nielsen, Comscore, and Experian. Their panel sizes for purposes of this are roughly 1 to 2 to 3 million each, pretty large. Despite the large panel sizes, however, they all have issues with respect to their measurements. None of these figures will match. So again, to illustrate the issues that these companies have with measuring online audiences, this is an article I'm going to want you to read and comment on as well. So a couple of years ago, basically Comscore changed the way it determines audience sizes. It changed its formula. And Hulu was the #1 ranking video content site out there, with about 43.5 million viewers. When Comscore changed its methodology, within 1 month it shrank it to 24 million. So just to show you the craziness that's going on. So as you can imagine, if you're trying to buy media and place advertisements on different media sites, you're going to be a little concerned if Comscore can't give you some good numbers as to how many viewers Hulu actually has. How many eyeballs does the New York Times really have? Who do you trust? How do I know what the numbers are and are not? So that's the problem here. The Interactive Advertising Bureau has been very upset at Nielsen, Comscore, and Experian for not getting this figured out better. So again, I want you to take a read of this article and let me know what you think. So today the measurement process is much more complex and accurate, although we still have work to do. Today measurements are a function of offline panels, online panels, and web page tags. They're built for cross-media understanding as well. So basically you kind of have your calibration engine, which all the data comes into, and out comes the measurement. So that calibration engine is the one that Comscore, messed around with and totally screwed up Hulu's numbers. Comscore basically, and the others, Nielsen as well, maintain a group of users who have monitoring software installed on their PCs and laptops and mobile devices. In exchange, they're given a fee in the form of usually products or services. Because still somewhat self-selecting, the panel without adjustments does not typically represent the population of internet users as a whole. So to obtain more accurate estimates, this is where they do that adjustment factor to weight things so that it represents what the population truly looks like. In addition, for subscribers to Comscore, page tagging is also used to help adjust consumption metrics for things like cookie deletion or blocking. As an advertiser, you want to know the size and composition of your audience, correct? If you're going to place an ad on the TV show The Blacklist, you want to know the potential audience size and demo. And you'll go to Nielsen to get that. No different on the web. If you're going to be buying banner ads on the New York Times website or video pre-rolls on Hulu, you want to know the size of the audience and who they are. And if you can't trust those numbers, then, what do you have to do? So that's really the issue and where we're at. With respect to this, you can also track your customers to determine what else they're doing on the web. So that's the other cool thing that Nielsen Comscore, for example, will do. So you can give Comscore all of your customers, for example, and they can knock those up against their panel of 2 to 3 million and tell you what they are doing elsewhere on the web. What sort of media are they consuming? What websites are they visiting? So here's just a neat little study I will share with you. And again, I changed the company to protect the innocent. So let's just pretend like it's Campbell's. So to learn more about what other websites the Campbell's customers visit, they basically went to ComScore and gave them all the people who've registered on their website to share and swap and get recipes and coupons, and said, tell me what these guys are doing, and let's do like a little customer profile cluster analysis of these guys. So Campbell basically handed over their customer groups. I'm sorry, they already had the clusters done. So Campbell already had that. So they had groups that they called healthy chefs, family pleasers, pleasure cookers, and convenience seekers. And they handed those groups or segments over to ComScore, and ComScore monitored what each of these customer groups basically did on the web. So what they found for one of them, which was kind of cool, the pleasure cookers, they determined that these guys typically went to websites dealing with community issues, health, healthy lifestyles, hobby and lifestyles. They went to those with a high percent of time, and also with a high intensity. And a high intensity means they're consuming a lot of pages and spending a lot of time on those particular websites. Reach just means what percent of those websites are they reaching. They're reaching out to those websites at a higher percent than other websites, basically. So kind of interesting. So if you think about what they could do with this, what could Campbell's do with this? Maybe they had no idea that pleasure cookers were into community service sort of things and health and hobbies and lifestyles. Now this gives them an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to start advertising on those sort of websites, or I'm going to reach out to those websites and see if they want to advertise on my site, or maybe they could start some sort of community outreach program, whatever the case might be. So it gives them lots of cool information to do. Let's talk about Google Trends if you're not familiar. Love Google Trends. So Google basically shares all of their search data with you over an extended period of time worldwide as well. So you can type in anything there and they will show you the search results for that. So if you go in, so when you go into Google Trends, type in something like pumpkin, and you will see that like every October, November, you see a huge spike in the number of people searching on the term pumpkin. If you type in something like gluten-free, and then also add in another search term fat-free, and then another search term sugar-free, you can take a look and see which term is trending more, and you'll see it's gluten-free. And then you could drill down on gluten-free and see gluten-free bread is what really is exploding. And then you could see also which states those search terms are the hottest in. So if you're thinking of building out, let's say, a natural foods brick and mortar somewhere, maybe Washington and Colorado might be the two key places to do it. So I'd love for you to play with that if you're not familiar. I consider Google Trend kind of a proxy for demand, and it's a great free tool out there. Again, some other tools that you have to help us assess audiences are things like Alexa, Compete, and Quantcast. Now, Alexa still gives some data for free, more than Compete and Quantcast. Compete and Quantcast is really useless for the most part unless you do have a paid account. Alexa's still giving you some, but not as much as what they used to, which is disappointing. But again, they're better than the other two. So we're just going to focus in on Alexa, and I'll show you what it does for you. So basically, it does give you an opportunity to see some traffic and some click stats, basically, for various websites. Again, it is panel-based. So what you can do is you can type in umsl.edu, and it's basically showing you the traffic rank. So of all the websites people are going to, where does this rank out there on traffic? So again, you can see definitely we see a blip in the, it looks like the August, September, October timeframe as people are coming back to school. Kind of interesting, it blips up there. Global rank is 45,000. It looks like rank within the US is 10,000 something out of all the websites that are out there. It also gives me some metrics. I believe that's for the past 30 days. You can click on the question mark yourself when you go there. The bounce rate, the percent of people that just hit a page on UMSL and leave, the average page views per visitor, and the average time spent on site. So some nice little stats. And then what we could do is we could also type in Warshu or Webster, and we could see how that compares for those as well. Now, before they started tightening their belt here, you used to be able to type in multiple websites and they would show you these metrics for all the multiple websites, which was kind of nice. They don't do that anymore. The other thing that they do as well is because it is panel based, they do know kind of who has college and doesn't, what their gender is, because people fill out a little questionnaire if they become a part of the panel. So we can also see people who are going to the UMSL website are more likely to have college and grad school than not. More likely to be surfing from work or more likely to be surfing from work than from home. So again, they're giving you some other interesting statistics there. And again, showing you search traffic, how people are getting there, what are the keywords that they're typing in, which is kind of nice. The other cool thing that it has, which is kind of neat, is what's called the Wayback Machine. And again, it shows you they basically have snapshots and actually real live websites of what UMSL looked like at all different points in time back in time. So if you click there, you can pick a multitude of time frames, as you can see at the very top navigation there, and it shows you what the University of Missouri looked like. So this is what the UMSL website looked like back on October 10th of 2001. And believe it or not, all of those links on there are live. You can click and you can see what the next page actually looked like and so on. So it's kind of an interesting little feature that it has. And it has every website on it. Even my wife's Drake Direct website is within this directory. These are just some interesting definitions for you, so you know what each of these particular metrics are, for example. Again, because Alexa and other ranking sites are all panel-based, and again, believe me, these are not going to be 1, 2, 3 million like ComScore and Nielsen and Experian. Just be a little careful using the data from these. Again, not going to be exact by any means. So we think there's issues with ComScore, Experian, and Nielsen. Definitely going to be some issues here as well. So just be careful. So recap, can we trust audience measurements from these places like ComScore, Nielsen, Experian? Why or why not? Not exactly. There's all going to be some error associated with them, so you just have to be a little bit careful. When using tools like Alexa and Compete, should you rely on actual numbers or index, and why or why not? Well, again, kind of interesting. So if I were to be comparing, let's say, page views of UMSL versus page views for Webster using Alexa, I probably would not show the actual numbers to a client. I would probably actually index them and say UMSL's page views per visit are 50% higher than Webster's and 10% lower than Warshu's. Again, because I'm a little concerned with the individual number and the error associated with it, but by indexing one versus the other, I'm kind of wiping out the error associated with each of those metrics a little bit. So that's why I would typically think about indexing those. What is Google Trends? Again, Google Trends is just kind of a proxy for demand, and it's a great way to type in search queries and see what is trending with respect to that term, where, when, etc.